Let's now talk a little bit about the difference between the classical hand position and the rock hand position. Now, the idea behind the classical position is we're going to have our thumb roughly opposite the second finger. And where that thumb is depends on where we are on the neck. Like sometimes when I'm way up on the higher frets, my thumb will be opposite my first finger. But what we're going to do is look at a hand position when we're at the 7th fret with our first finger on the thinnest string, and our little finger is going to be the 10th fret. Now we're going to be going one finger per fret, so we have the first at the 7th, second at the 8th, third at the 9th, and our little finger at the 10th fret. Now in this hand position, if I lean forward, you'll notice my thumb is opposite my second finger, and it's at the back of the neck. Now what this allows me to do is it allows me to evenly space my fingers, and you'll notice that the natural tendency is my little finger will kind of lean to the outside and my first finger will lean to the outside as well, but my fingers 2 and 3, they're quite upright. And so one of the advantages of this hand position is it allows you to do very wide stretches. So if I wanted to do a chord like this, with a huge stretch, then pretty much the only way I can play that chord is with the classical hand position. Now, you might be thinking, if it's so good for stretching, maybe you should play in this position all the time. Well, the trouble is, when you're playing rock guitar, there's a lot of string bends and vibrato, so it's not very comfortable to do string bends in the classical hand position. So what is usually a good idea for most players is to switch to the rock hand position, especially when you're doing bends and vibrato. So I'll show you the difference in that. Like if we stay at the same position and now I switch to the rock hand position, notice how it looks very, very different. Like when I'm in the classical hand position, the fingers are kind of straight onto the frets. But when I switch to the rock hand position, the fingers are quite angled. Now you'll notice here that in this rock hand position, my thumb is sort of poking over the top of the neck. And if I turn around a little bit, you'll notice that I've got some part of my index finger pushing against the underside of the neck. So I've kind of got two leverage points. Now what that means is if I want to do a string bend and do vibrato, that's going to give me a lot more strength than trying to do it in the classical hand position. I mean, you can do it in that position, don't get me wrong, but you'll notice that most rock guitarists tend to be in this hand position when they're doing string bends and vibrato.